I do want to bring in our next guest this hour to help break down some more of what we are seeing. Let's welcome now Harley Lippman, international affairs expert. Thanks so much for being here with us, Harley. I know this is a very fluid time, a difficult time in Israel, but we appreciate you joining us on Live Now from Fox.
My pleasure.
All right, so let's get right into it. It's very happening still in this moment where we saw those interceptors go up and start taking down these missiles. We are learning that a barrage of about 300 have already been launched. And first off, your thoughts on really the escalation that we have been seeing in these last couple of days.
This is an opportunity for Israel to take decisive action that could help finally bring about a monumental change in the Middle East, and that could bring about peace for everybody. The Iranian regime is the regime that is causing all the war and deaths and violence in the Middle East. All the proxies of Iran, all their allies in the region, the Houthis, Hezbollah, the militias in Syria. There are 5 areas. So Israel is really surrounded and being attacked by 5 countries, and Iran in particular, which is much bigger than Israel and has a bigger army than Israel. They're firing these missiles into Israel. But if Israel's military is as good and effective as we believe it is, this is the time for Israel to be taking advantage of this, along with the United States, to finally, if they can do it, to try to take out Iran's nuclear facilities. This has been long overdue, and this could be problems could turn into great opportunities that could result in peace.
And Harley, what are these next couple of hours going to look like in Israel and really the region?
Well, it's going to be filled with a lot of uncertainty, a lot of fear, a lot of guesswork. What's going to happen next? What should we do? I think that Israel needs to be very proactive. The last time, which I believe was in April, Israel had a very minimal response after Iran attacked Israel. This time, I hope Israel's response is far more robust. I think that Iran is not looking for a full-scale war, but you never know. They could be. I think it would be a mistake on their part, and I think this is an opportunity for Israel. The big question is at what price? If they're going to fire these missiles, which apparently they're aiming at Mossad headquarters, Israel's elite intelligence unit, 8200, and other air bases, that's where they're targeting, is what we understand. But if they actually hit those targets and/or hit civilian centers, I believe the Israeli response will be much stronger, and they may even start to take out Iranian oil facilities, which will result in oil prices going from $70 a barrel. It could go up to $200 a barrel.
And Harley, we when we were talking about the last attack there in April from Iran to Israel, it left them looking exposed in the international community. It looks like already right now it appears to be the same thing. Do you agree?
Well, when you say exposed, you mean that Iran is exposed.
Yes.
But I think that Iran feels emboldened now. Why? Because they have the tacit, if not the full support of North Korea, Russia, and China. You know, when the Iran nuclear deal was being negotiated during the Obama administration, China and Russia was on the side of the United States in getting Iran to give up their nuclear weapons. But today, Russia and China are fully backing Iran. So I think this is what gives Iran the gumption, if you will, to feel that they could do this and get away with it.
And let's talk also about, it felt like in many moments of this war already from October 7th on, where you had Israel almost playing a war on 2 fronts. And I'm talking the war against Hamas and others, but and Hezbollah, but also the war on really the public affairs of it all, where it felt like a lot of and so many from different country leaders to presidents were talking about, okay, we need a ceasefire, we need it now. But it seemed like in many fronts that the war has almost had a chokehold on Israel on what they can do and what they cannot do.
No, that's exactly right. You know, it's worth noting for your viewers that how did this war begin? On October 8th, Hezbollah attacked Israel. No one is disputing this. Hezbollah has been boasting about it. Israel did not attack Hezbollah. Hezbollah attacked Israel. So they declared war in effect. When you attack another country, you're going to war. So what has happened in the last year is Israel and Hezbollah has been playing tit for tat. Hezbollah would fire some rockets into Israel. Israel would fire some rockets back in defense and in retaliation. But that has not stopped anything and has not stopped the war. And where was the world calling for a ceasefire then? Only when Israel appears to be winning are they calling for a ceasefire. But for the last year, when 12 Israeli children were murdered on a soccer field playing soccer and Hezbollah fired a missile, the world was strangely silent. So I think that if the world really wants resolution and peace, the only way is to actually eliminate these terrorist organizations, because they'll be on our shores sooner or later. They've made it very clear. This is their words, not my words. They want to destroy Israel first or damage Israel as much as they can. And they want to ultimately destroy America. Remember, Israel is the little Satan in their eyes, and America is the big Satan. But if I would add one other thing to give context to this war with Hezbollah is this. What is really propelling Israel to have attacked Hezbollah now? And the reason is that after October 7th, when Hamas went across the border and murdered, raped Israelis, Israel was afraid that Hezbollah could do that in the northern communities of Israel where they border Israel. So they told all the Israeli communities in the northern part of Israel to evacuate. So for the last year, you've had 80,000 people with families living in a single room in a hotel or moving from one friend's house to the next friend's house as kind of like, nomads over the last year. This has been a horrible situation for people with families, children in school, jobs being upended. It's a mess. And for the last year, they've been putting huge pressure on the Israeli government to say, when can we go home? So finally, the pressure built up so much that the mission of the Israeli government is to allow those 80,000 citizens to return home. And the only way they could do that is to make sure that Hezbollah accepts Resolution 1701, which was passed after the last war, but was never honored by Hezbollah, which means they have to move 70 miles north of Israel to create a buffer so Israel has some sense of security for their northern communities.
Very well said there, Harley. And then lastly, I just want to get your thoughts. We're getting very close to the one-year anniversary of the attack on Israel, October 7th, of course. Is there any threat of a one-year anniversary type of attack on the many fronts that Israel is facing right now?
I imagine so. If Israel hasn't learned the lesson from October 7th, they ought to now. So clearly, we've seen historically that Arab nations, as you pointed out, tend to like to attack Israel on anniversaries and on Jewish religious holidays, which is now. Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the year for the Jewish people, is coming up in about a week. And also you have at the same time the year anniversary. But that said, I think Israel this time is very much on guard for that and will be vigilant.
All right. So thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. We really loved your perspective there, Harley Lippman. It's always great to speak with you, and thanks for your updates, but also all of the news and information you were giving us as well.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you again.